Welcome to my talk. More than a talk, it's like more a cautionary tale about releasing code on the wild. So you release code on the open, you never know what is going to happen with that code. That's the core idea of this talk. And well, it's actually I broke Docker once, and there is a little surprise, a little plot twist in this talk. Later, you will know what else I broke in the community. Well, first, I am going to present myself. I'm Dario Castañé. As we can said, I work at Royal Guru, at Barcelona startup that develops omnichannel marketing platform for retailers. And that's all the infomercial info I'm going to share. So Mergo, what is Mergo? You saw my previous slide, the address, github.com/amdario/Mergo. And well, Mergo is just a little library to merge Go structs and maps. So you have two structs of the same type, and you can merge them, and this you can merge them. That's the core idea. It's not so complicated. It's not very difficult. This is a useful situation that you have maybe some user input information in a struct, and you want to complete it with the default values that you have from your own application, from the database, whatever. You have them in another struct, and then you merge them. Actually, Mergo started as a side project because it was like I had a very bad itch in another project, and I was very tired of doing, if this value is 0, then merge the default value. And I was like, okay, come on, Dario, you can do it better. This is something that probably it's easy to solve in Go. Actually, I'm going to say something very polemic. I didn't have the need to have generics when I wrote this because, I didn't miss generics because this library used a lot of the reflect library from the lib. And well, I wrote it in 2013, so about 4 years after the first release of Go. I started to play around Go with learning it around 2011. And well, what happened in these 8 years? These stats are from yesterday. It got 1,700 stars, 2,000 forks. That's very common. There are some forks that they are adding some improvement. I'm planning to merge at some point with a very delicate testing process. 2,500 unique daily clones according to GitHub. So it's daily, every day people are pulling the repository from GitHub 2,500 times. And then the big one, 7,250 repositories that use it according to GitHub, including Kubernetes, Docker, Grafana, and more. I found Kubernetes operators from IBM, from Oracle. I found projects from Telefónica, that it's a big telecommunications company here in Spain. Everybody's using this library at some level as a direct dependency or even an indirect dependency. Actually, Kubernetes and Docker use them to merge the default configuration, default values for the configuration of the daemon of Kubernetes and Docker, and whatever is that you provide from the CLI or maybe from a configuration file, etc. So this code, my code, is being used a lot. Really a lot. It's inside the core, the heart, not the core, the heart of the cloud. It was pretty amazing to find out. But anyway, let's keep going forward. The origin, just a quick flag. The origin was this side project. Well, it's a side project. It's not really a full feature project. It was just a static website generator. Hugo wasn't still bored when I worked fast, and I had this need to write something to generate a static site. So I did this, and then Mergo was born, and the rest you already know what happened. So what I did when I wanted to create Mergo, as you know, one of the main, I don't remember if they are katas or called in another way, but there are some like proverbs, proverbs of Go. And one of them is whenever you can, copy and paste. It's good and it's fine to copy and paste code. So I started copying and pasting the code from typical of the Reflect library. I looked for a reference and I found it in the deep equal method of the standard library. And then I started modifying because it's an algorithm that currently it's different from the time I copied it in Mergo. The license of the library is the same that of the Go repository, so it's the same. I think it's MIT, MIT BSD license. And well, how it happened, this expansion? Well, I released I released Mergo in March 2013. And then 2 years later, almost 2 years later, it appeared first in Kubernetes, and 3 years later, it appeared in Docker. It was Docker community engine at the moment. Now it's Moby. And then finally, it ended with these 7,000 repositories using it around the world. A lot of projects. There are a lot of copies also of Docker. So I don't know why people keep. They are not forks. They are copies of the repository. So my code appears a lot. But anyway, if I could share with you these repositories, we can find them here in the inside. We are going to see that there is a lot of variety, very different projects. There are provided for Terraform, libraries of Calico that is used inside the Kubernetes ecosystem. You can find it everywhere. You can in a lot of projects. Actually, talking with I remember that talking with Wicken, we chat about that. Mitchell from Terraform, he had a very similar library that appeared, I think, a bit earlier or a bit later, but very close to the time I released the first version of Mergo. And for some unknown reason, Mergo took off, and it's now present in a lot of projects. And well, this is fine. I am the guy in that point here down. The project is some random person in /Nebraska put Barcelona has been silently maintained it since 2013. And what happens when you are at this point? What happens is that sometimes you release a new version and then you broke new releases of any software. I did some investigation because I didn't have everything in place. I just had the I don't remember, recuerdo, the memory. I had the memory that I had a lot of stress one day because I got a lot of messages saying, please fix this because we have released a new Docker version and it's broken because it doesn't work because the daemon doesn't start, etc. But I also, at the same time, that release broke Kubernetes and more projects. It's not, there is some issues still in the library, but at some point I'm going to work on it because there are like edge cases, a lot of edge cases. People do some strange things with code, with Go code. But anyway, it's fine. Probably it's a matter of getting all the examples or sampling all the usage of Mergo and putting it in a single repository for testing Mergo against all the use cases or the more common use cases. And what lessons I learned here? Because what was the root cause of this accident? It was accepting a PR that had some functionality, but this functionality didn't broke anything apparently. But although I had in the repository, as you can see here, I have one test for each issue that has popped in the repository, and also PRs. Although I have everything tested, I don't know what test coverage has the project, but it's a lot because any issue has their own test. Obviously, the core functionality has also its test with a standard library testing tools. Even with those tests, somehow that PR caused a lot of collateral damage. It was a third-party PR. It wasn't of my own, but it's hard to maintain one of these repositories that everybody uses because it's not your main work. Obviously, this is impossible to monetize, so it's impossible to make a living of this library. But I don't have that intention. I'm happy to provide to the community, but sometimes that means like I do this in my spare time, and my spare time is very little. So I accepted the PR, and everything started to break down, or maybe hell was unleashed. So one of the lessons that I learned was don't accept PRs easily. Tests are not enough. You need to do a very thoughtful code review every time you receive a PR. Usually the PRs that I receive are not new features, but sometimes mainly currently people that uses the library and want to be featured in the README. That's very cool. I like it a lot. It's something that makes me very happy. And other two lessons that I wanted to share with the community, as giving back to it, is that when you start your own itch, share it with the world. That's very important. You don't know who is going to have the same itch, the same issue, the same problem. Probably you are going to enlighten their day, and also you're going to make the life of another developer very easy, because you already have walked that path and you shared what you learned and what you were able to develop. So the second lesson is one for all for one. The community is our biggest strength, and that's what the biggest lesson that I learned with Mergo, because people want to help you. I had several no, but at least one colleague, one collaborator that he dedicated a lot of time from Docker. Now I think he's at Red Hat. Thank you, Vincent. That's I wanted to thank you because you did a lot of good work with Mergo, and also because more people have collaborated with Mergo and with me to improve it. And well, you can think that this library is finished, but it isn't. There are a lot of edge cases that need to be solved. So, but we need to do it, but I need help, because it's a very difficult library, not only to maintain, but also to develop. There are a lot of different it's not very well coded because there were a lot of edge cases that have to be solved previously. So probably the best idea that I can do now is create a clean room rewrite. And that's one of the ideas that I would love to have people helping me. Creating the Mergo in the wild. Mergo in the wild, the idea of Mergo in the wild would be to take, as I told you before, to take samples from Mergo's usage in different projects, probably pooling them as a dependency, and building test cases. So having test cases to test the new implementation. In that way, we will make sure of two things: that the new implementation will work, and also that any other new implementation, new or change or whatever that we are doing, that we will do in the future, they won't break anything. And that's very important because it's a very critical library. It's at the beginning of the Docker daemon, at the beginning of the Kubernetes daemon, and it's like, okay, this is very important. And you are sustaining a lot of weight in your shoulders, metaphorically speaking. But anyway, and also another idea that I had and I wanted to share with the community was that maybe Mergo needs to be able to generate code. It can work with reflection as it does currently, but also have this option to generate code. So maybe we can have even better performance on runtime, because Reflect is slow, but not enough to be critical unless you are using the library in a hot path. Probably there is room for improvement. Probably there is the option to start again from the current implementation of deep equal, and then with all the experience and this Mergo in the wild project, do this rewrite. That's something that I'm thinking of. It's not going to happen any soon, but it's on the table, it's on the horizon. And if anyone wants to build the next generation of Mergo, I'm very happy to welcome you to the project and collaborate with you. And that's for sure. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the organization of this meetup. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Well, if you want to drop a line on at email, or if you have my address, or at Twitter, that here you have my information. Thank you.